Visit Boardwalk Honda today, located in Egg Harbor Township, or shop online at boardwalkhonda.com. And remember, from Maine to Miami, nobody beats a Boardwalk deal. Call us toll-free at 844-890-3390 for more details.
Boardwalk Honda. The radio home of the 76ers.
For three, Whiskers, up and go!
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
Oh, what a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Game Night is back in your life. Josh Hennig here, live in the Matt Black Kia Studios on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, 97.3 ESPN.com, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. Glad to have you guys on board the show today. We got a lot to get to. We haven't been on the air for a couple of days, so we got a lot to cover over the last few days. Also, Flyers back in action tonight. Kevin Durso will join us at 6:20 to preview the game, 7 p.m. at 97.3 ESPN and 97.3 ESPN mobile app. You can listen to all the Flyers games. Flyers got to figure some things out. They are a bit of a dumpster fire right now. And unlike the NBA, where the trade deadline is this Thursday, the NHL trade deadline is still a couple weeks away. So if you're looking at the Flyers and saying, are the Flyers going to make a move? Don't get your hopes up, because it might not be anytime soon. Theoretically, they should do it sooner than later, but we'll get into all that with Kevin Durso coming up in about 20 minutes from now. We got to get into also what happened with the Sixers. Obviously, they are in a situation where they're on this road trip. It's going to be a couple late nights this coming week. So, of course, you hear the whole games on 97.3 ESPN FM. You have tonight, you have the Kings. And then you have on Thursday, the Lakers. Of course, Lakers, no LeBron, no AD. We'll get in a little bit more Sixers in just a bit. But I wanted to hit on the story that dropped Friday night and that most people talked about over the weekend. And I love what the Sixers did. I love the acquisition of Anthony Harris. I think that when you have a guy like Harris out there, you have to truly consider that this is a guy who has a history, has a propensity, has a lot to do with the success of the Vikings defense of the last few years. People forget that the Vikings have a history, okay? They have a history of developing good players in their secondary. Harris was an undrafted free agent. We know about Harrison Smith. You have guys like Andrew Sendejo. You have guys like Xavier Rhodes. They got Mike Hughes out there now. They have a history of knowing what it takes to be successful at that level. And when you pick up a guy like Harris, what you're doing is you're saying, listen, we need you to come in here and help us with this new defense. And I doubt this will be the last guy that Jonathan Gannon has a connection to. For those who don't know, the current Eagles defensive coordinator for the 2021 season, Jonathan Gannon, was the assistant defensive backs coach in Minnesota with Harris. He coached him for 3 years before he ended up going and joining the Colts staff. So you already know that there is a connection between the coach and between the player. So that was easy to make the connection. But then there's another side to this. Pro Football Focus has Harris is rated tied for the best safety in the NFL since 2018. He led the NFL in interceptions a couple of years ago. Last year, he showed you the ability to still be an impact player on a team that didn't have a great team out there. They had a bunch of injuries last year. They had some guys in and out of the lineup in the secondary on the defense, and he still had an impact, even though he didn't have all the interceptions he did the year before. 9 interceptions over 2 seasons is pretty darn good. I don't care what anybody says. So he's shown you the ability to do this. And I'm not promising 6 interceptions here in Philadelphia. What I'm promising you is you're going to get a level of production out of that position that you might not have seen previously. And no offense to guys like Malcolm Jenkins or Rodney McLeod, but this is the kind of guy that Philadelphia hasn't had in a long time at safety. The dude who's just a playmaker. All right. Malcolm is a good player. And he was great in Philadelphia. But he's not elite. Okay. Harris has one elite skill set, and that's being a ball hawking safety. He's not a great tackler, even though he has over 120 tackles in the last 3 years, solo tackles. He's not this elite, guy who's going to come up in the box and get sacks. He does one thing great. He is a ball hawk. And if you could at least get a guy in here who gives you that threat on the defensive back end, that if you put the ball in the air, this guy can take it away from you. You need that threat to be a successful defense, in my opinion. So I love the move. I thought it was a great job by them. I would be expecting them to get at least one more player, either from the Vikings or the Colts, who has connection to Gannon, because this is what teams do. You saw this with Jim Schwartz when he first came here in 2016. Remember, they went out and got Nigel Bradham and Ronald Darby and Leotis McKelvin, and they brought in all these guys who had played under Schwartz because they could kind of come in here and translate to everybody. They could kind of go in there and say, look, I know what this means. This is how you do it. This is how it works. So I think this is a very smart move of the Eagles, and they got them on a bargain basement deal. Okay, this was a bargain bin, a discount rack kind of move, because now you're in a situation where you're getting a guy at a price that's less than what he's probably worth. And at the end of the day, you're forcing him to prove himself to you and the rest of the NFL. And if he goes out there and has a great year, you could always re-sign him. Heck, you could re-sign him in the middle of the year if he's having a great year. You don't have to just let him walk at the end of the year. I think this move of getting him at the price today was more about, making sure the numbers all work, because they still got to sign other rookies when they draft them. Of course, over at 973ESPN.com, you will see that the latest mock draft by Mel Kiper has the Eagles taking Jamar Chase. So now these are multiple drafts who have the Eagles taking either Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts. I think it's becoming more and more clear that the Eagles are going to target an offensive weapon. Okay, they're going to target a guy who is going to be an offensive skill player when it comes to what they're trying to build. And what they're trying to build is an offense that fits in the Nick Sirianni's plans. Now, we don't know all the details of those plans yet. He hasn't obviously given it away. We haven't seen how this offense is going to work. But we have an understanding that based on what we saw in Indianapolis, what we saw previously with the Chargers, that Sirianni does have specific tendencies, okay, that he's been around. So he's been around offenses that love to use the tight end, all right? He's been around offenses that love to use short slants, and he likes to use offenses that like to have the quarterback get the ball out of their hand fairly quickly. So if that's the case, and remember, he's coached Andrew Luck, Jacoby Brissett, and Phillip Rivers. Those are three extremely different quarterbacks in terms of styles and approaches to the game. You have a guy like Phillip Rivers, who is pretty much a gunslinger. All right, we know what Phillip Rivers was. He was a guy who, frankly, I would have loved to see what happened with Phillip Rivers had ever worked with Bruce Arians, because we know that Bruce Arians has got no risk it, no biscuit offense where he's about, pushing the ball down the field and taking risks. If you would have put him with Phillip Rivers, that might have been a monstrous offense for a year or two. You thought Carson Palmer did well under Bruce Arians. Phillip Rivers might have done better. But anyway, you got this gunslinger. Then you have Andrew Luck, the super cerebral, super smart, super high IQ guy who can dissect. He's a baller. He's a competitor. Then you have Jacoby Brissett, this guy who is underrated, doesn't turn the ball over. He's a guy who's efficient. He's not going to put you in a position to lose games. He's going to manage the offense the way you ask him to. He's going to get the ball out of his hands quickly. He's not going to sit there and try to just gun it downfield all game long. He's going to put you in a position to be successful. You're bringing all of those things to Philadelphia. And so that's why, whether it's Kyle Pitts or whether it is Jamar Chase, the pick makes sense because you have an offensive head coach. You have a team that's trying to build around a young offensive quarterback. And do not forget, what do Pitts and Chase have in common? They were both the number one receivers with their teams in college. Kyle Pitts was far and away the number one target ahead of Tony at Florida. Chase was the ex-receiver at LSU. So while Jefferson had more receptions, Chase is what the offense was built on. Jefferson got open at LSU, similar to what he got open to in Minnesota, because the ex-receiver at LSU, Chase, and Minnesota, Thielen, was a guy who was already drawing a certain level of attention. Jefferson doesn't have the success he did in college if not for Jamar Chase. All right. Chase and Pitts are both number one receivers on their teams. So what the Eagles are telling you, not directly, because obviously these are mock drafts, but what people are projecting is they're saying, we believe the Eagles are looking for a number one type receiver. That's what they're looking for. And I think that that's exciting in and of itself. The Eagles are going all in on fixing and rebuilding the offense because they're trying to maximize what they have with the quarterback, Jalen Hurts. And I tend to agree with something that Andrew DeCecco inferred a little bit earlier. Outside of Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, the quarterbacks in this draft they're not really that much better than what Jalen Hurts can give you. There is nothing about Trey Lance, Mac Jones, or Zach Wilson that is definitively better, in my opinion, than what Jalen Hurts brings to the table. And I think that Justin Fields is going to go in the top 3 or 4 picks at worst. I think that I don't know if you're going to see a complete 4 quarterbacks drafted in the top 4 picks like Kuiper and McShay are saying on ESPN, but I do believe that in some way or another, Lawrence will be going at 1 to the Jags, and that Fields will go to either one of those teams after that, whether it is Atlanta, whether it is the Jets, whether it is a team trading up to Miami to get that pick. I think he's gone. So I tend to agree with what DeCecco was saying earlier. From what I saw in college football, there's nothing really specifically about Zach Wilson's game or Trey Lance, especially Trey Lance, or Mac Jones that makes me pound the table and say, I need that guy instead of Jalen Hurts. So it makes a lot of sense that you're saying we are going to put our quarterback in a position to be successful by getting a top tier receiver with that pick. And even if you would have told me it was Devonta Smith or Jalen Waddle of Alabama, you're still telling me that you're getting a guy who has the caliber to be a top tier receiver with that 6 overall pick. So those are some of the takeaways from the weekend. Before we hit the break, I do want to mention again, Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN. We will get to the Flyers in about 6 minutes with Kevin Durso. I want to play again the cut that Mike Gill played about Tobias Harris a little earlier. And we'll dig deeper into the stuff about the Sixers and the trade targets a little bit later in the show. Again, the text board is open as always at 609-403-0973. Josh Hennig live in the Matt Black Kia Studios on 97.3 ESPN. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, where you can watch the show here on 97.3 ESPN. We played the cut earlier. We'll play it again a little bit later in the show. This idea, and I wrote about this in 97.3 ESPN.com, that Tobias Harris is, this mantra out there that he's not worth the money, or he's overrated, or he's overpaid, is a situation where I don't think you can overlook that this guy has been so important to this team. They have 15 wins when he has 20 points and 6 rebounds and 2 losses heading into the weekend. 15-2 before they played the 2 games over the weekend. What that tells you is that Tobias Harris is way more important than people give him credit for. And you heard Bobby Marks say it earlier today. This team has something the Lakers don't. The Lakers are a team that do not have a guy who can just step right in and take up the load. And by the way, that last home game before their road trip against the Kings, Tobias Harris had 29 points, 11 rebounds. We have to stop devaluing guys because they don't give us, flashy dunks or, people love Zion Williamson, right? Okay. People love Zion. Give me Tobias Harris over Zion. You know why? Because Zion Williamson on a team with not 1, but 2 second overall picks, Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram, are 18-24 this year. 18-24. They're 6-14 on the road. They got the great Stan Van Gundy. That's the guy they wanted. They wanted the retread. Well, guess what you got? You got a basketball team that can't play defense, but Zion's got all these great highlights. The Pelicans are a team that is averaging almost the exact same number of points per game as they are in allowing points per game this year. That's how messed up they are. They are such a dumpster fire defensively. They have the 4th worst defense in the NBA. They have the 3rd worst defensive efficiency. And Zion's great, right? Yeah. Give me the guy who actually wins me games in Tobias Harris. Yeah. They're 16-2 now when he gets 20 points and 6 rebounds in a game. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Game Night being brought to you by Golden Nugget Sportsbook. Wager, watch, and win at Golden Nugget during the National College Basketball Championship. Catch all the madness live at the Sportsbook on more than 50 televisions and place your wagers on their self-service betting kiosks. Or visit the Rush Lounge just steps away from the Sportsbook and get into the game with a private table. Plus, they're not calling any fouls with their $20 buckets and $5 shot specials all games. Golden Nugget is a slam dunk spot to feel like you're sitting courtside. That's Golden Nugget Sportsbook. All right, we're going to go up talk to Kevin Durso. He is up at the center tonight. Flyers taking on the Devils right here on 97.3 ESPN. 7 o'clock is the coverage beginning. Steve Coates, Tim Saunders on the call right here on your home for Flyers hockey and Sixers basketball. 97.3 ESPN FM. Don't forget all your Sixers and Flyers coverage over at 97.3ESPN.com and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City.
Wake up weekday mornings from 6 to 10 with Keyshawn, Jay, Will, and Zubin on 97.3 ESPN.
Don't bring in a guy who is a statue outside your damn stadium. Don't do that to a young quarterback who has a chance to actually blossom into something different. You know what Philly fans start to do? Nick Foles. Nick, you're creating dissension within your own team.
Keyshawn, Jay, Will, and Zubin. Weekday mornings at 6 on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
The all-new Matt Blatt Nissan is receiving a special allocation of new Nissans, and we need your trade. So get out of that old car, truck, or SUV and into a brand new 2021 Nissan Murano. $5,000 off MSRP, plus 0 down and 0% APR financing for 60 months on new in-stock Nissan Sentras and Altimas. Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township next to Home Depot wants to approve your credit today so you can drive a new Nissan with 0 down payment and 0% APR financing. Plus our fast track checkout online at mattblattnissan.com. So bring any trade to Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township or at mattblattnissan.com. On approved credit, negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle. All factory rebates and incentives to dealer. Not all will qualify. 0% APR financing based on 1333 for 1,000 borrowed. Murano 8 to choose. Offers can't be combined. Call 888-731-5030 for all the details. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan. Dorothy Roofing,
Call 1-877-97-KEVIN.
Do you own a commercial property? Are you in need of a dependable, honest roofer? For repairs, replacements, coatings, and more, give us a call today at 1-877-97-KEVIN.
Wizard quality comes with DorothyRoofing.com.
Right now, Allstate has almost as many ways to save as there are types of music. Save for being a new customer. Save for driving safely. Save for driving less with pay-per-mile insurance. Visit Allstate.com or contact your local agent to get a quote. Find out how much you can save today. Allstate. Now that should be music to your ears.
Not available in every state. Savings based on early signing discount drive-bys in Mile West. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Hey, it's me. You know, I lost my job and I've just been having a really hard time lately. I'm actually starting to worry about myself. I found this app, though, called the How We Reach coaching tool, and it's helping me reach out to my friends for support. Anyway, I was hoping maybe you could come over after your shift. I just need someone to be with me right now and help me sort out what to do next. Let me know, okay? All right, thanks.
Visit reach.gov to download the tool today.
This is Renee.
Happy to be here.
She's in a few John Deere commercials this year, but she's not some influencer. She's more of a groundbreaker behind the wheel of a 1 Series tractor. With her iMatch Quick Hitch, backhoe, Quick Park Loader, and Auto Connect mower deck, turning her 4-acre lot into a little slice of heaven is as easy as... Renee runs with us on a John Deere 1 Series tractor because the most important job is the next one.
That's all I got.
Nothing runs like a Deere. Hear Renee's story at Deere.com.
Today just got a little more exciting because you have the chance to win $220 million with Powerball. Talk about a way to really shake things up. So keep it interesting and take your shot because anything can happen in Jersey.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget, we'll get to my FanDuel Sportsbook picks of the night in just a bit. Of course, FanDuel Sportsbook, we went 3-3 over the weekend, so not horrible, not great either. We're going to break down what I got right and got wrong in those picks because some of them, not too bad. Some of them, really bad. So, but right now, we're going to head up to the center because joining us right now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline, he is live from the center as the Flyers are back on home ice to take on the Devils tonight. Coverage begins at 7 o'clock right here on 97.3 ESPN. He is Kevin Durso joining us on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Kevin, how you doing up there?
I'm doing well, Josh. How are you?
Doing pretty good. So, it's a bit of weird stretch for the Flyers. You and I talked last after they had that embarrassing loss, 9-0. They came back. They got that win. So you were like, all right, well, we feel a little better about them, right? That was kind of like the feeling at the moment. But it feels like since then, I feel like we have more questions than answers with this team because you win the game 4-3 and then you lose 2 straight and win them with 6-1. So, Kevin, talk a little bit about, what is we go with the Flyers where right now, am I doing math right there? What, 2-4 in their last 6?
Yeah, pretty much, and it just continues to be a snowball effect for them. It seems like as soon as they let one in, there's something to follow. It didn't exactly happen that way last night. They gave up the tying goal early in the third period and then actually played better throughout the remainder of the third period and were closing in on that opportunity to get the win and then didn't take advantage of a late power play, got burned by a turnover in overtime, and that continues to be the problem with them. They make their own mistakes and they're getting burned by things that they can control, which is puck management and making sure you're in the right place at the right time, and they're not taking advantage of that. They're not doing those things. They're not taking advantage of opportunities like that power play at the end of the third period last night. And there's a big difference between the game last night and the game on Saturday night, too. I mean, the game on Saturday night, it just made no sense following a game where you did perform really well and found a way to win that game after playing extremely well for 40 minutes, giving that lead back to the Islanders and then getting that late goal. You played well on Monday night. You played a really good game in that third game against the Islanders, and you didn't get rewarded for it. And that being said, there's no such thing as a moral victory anymore this season. You really can't take that for anything anymore. You've got to be putting it together and actually getting the results. And they know that, but at the same time is running out for this team, and they need to really start stringing together some wins if they want to make any noise because it's time is even more precious in a shortened season.
When you think about this team, where they stand right now, they're 15-11. They're 2 games out of 4th place, maybe in the top 4 to make the NHL postseason this year. Is this who they are? Are they a team that's on the outside in? Like, is this the character of this team, or can they be more than this?
Well, I think everybody thought it could be more than that, but right now they're playing exactly to the level that they deserve at this point. I mean, their standings place represents exactly how they've played all year, an up and down season, some moments of success, but also some moments where you're questioning everything kind of. And so there's no reason, there's a reason why they're where they are. That's for sure. It just comes down to now they can determine whether or not they go back into the playoff picture with a good stretch of games right now and finding a way to put it together, or they're going to fall out of this race faster than anything. And then you're asking all the questions that you asked within just the last 2 years about where does it go from here? What do you do? So that's really what they have to determine.
Kevin Durso joining us live from the center here as we're getting you ready for Flyers versus Devils tonight here on 97.3 ESPN. The full preview of the game tonight is over at 97.3ESPN.com. Speaking of that preview, the last time you and I talked, there were some changes between the time you posted that article and the time that we had the conversation. So can you give us a little information about what is going on with the goaltender? I'm a little confused. Is how much of this is rest? How much of this AD protecting his guys from the situation they're in? What is going on with these goalies?
Well, I think you're just trying to find somebody who gives you the best chance to win. And for a while, I remember talking to you, ironically, the last time the Flyers played the Devils, and Brian Elliott got a start in the first game of that series. And I said, on that particular night, I think he does give you the best chance to win that game, given the way things went for Carter Hart up in Boston right before that. And they did win both of those games, and it seemed like Carter Hart started to turn things around at that moment. But it's all just regressed from there, and now you've used Brian Elliott an awful lot, and this is what happens when you use a guy his age, his experience level, and use him to that extent. He's had injury history before, and you use him to that extent, and eventually you wear him down. So they're trying their best to keep everybody as fresh as they can. This is a grueling month for them. They're playing a lot of games in a short amount of time and kind of just trying to survive it right now. So it's hard to pick a goalie when you don't have one who's standing out over the other. It seems like every time they turn around, they put one guy in. He may be on his game for one night, and they try to go right back to him, and he's not on his game the next night, so you're back to thinking the other way. You go to the other guy, and they're just trying to get somebody in a rhythm right now, and it's really hard to do when both guys are struggling as much as they are, and when the defense in front of them is struggling as much as they are, too. It's just been kind of a disaster area in their own zone with the turnovers, with everything like that, so that's really what it comes down to.
When you think about the play of the goaltenders, you mentioned the turnovers in their zone. Like, how much of the blame do we lay at the goaltender? How much do we lay on the blame of the team? Because I feel like for some people, for example, you're somebody who only looks at, like, you don't watch every game like you do, Kevin. Like, they might see the box score, they might see the highlight, they might see the stats, and they're like, what is going on with these goaltenders? But as you mentioned, some of this has nothing to do with them. It's not all their fault. So how do you delineate the blame game?
It's hard to pick a person who you think should be off the hook or on the hook, It's defensively, this team has been a mess, and they continue to be. They don't seem to get out of their own way. And from a goaltending standpoint, you do look at the games where things are a positive. I think of the game last Thursday against the Islanders, for example. You're up 3-0. It's almost midway through the third period. You're doing all the right things defensively. And the first goal that was allowed by the Flyers in that game to the Islanders is probably when Carter Hart needs to stop. And that right there is probably the difference between putting the blame on the goalie and the blame on the defense. There are times where it's painfully obvious where the error is on the play. It's a coverage issue, it's a turnover, and somebody puts the goalie in a bad spot. But there are other times where it's painfully obvious that it's the goalie who should have made a save there and didn't. So that's how you kind of differentiate. I feel like it's happening more on one side than the other. I feel like the turnovers and the mismanagement of the puck is what's really become the big problem. But the goaltenders are having trouble because they constantly have to be put in that position. They have to be prepared to make some grade A save on so many occasions, and that turns into a big problem when it comes time to make the routine stops and you really need your goalie just to be sharp throughout the game, and it's making it harder on them as well just to sometimes make the routine save. It looks like we all sit there and we'll say it's a soft goal, or we'll say he should have had that one, and the goalie will admit that too. But they've been put in such a bad position throughout the year, it's almost hard to fault them for some of those as well. I'm not saying I don't, but it's almost hard to fault them for that. So I think it's a collective defensive zone play thing. The defense hasn't been good. The goaltending kind of bailed you out through most of the early part of the season. And now that the defense hasn't gotten any better and the turnovers haven't gotten any better, now the goaltenders are kind of showing you what happens when you play like that throughout the course of a season.
Kevin Durso, our Flyers Insider for 97.3 ESPN.com, joining us here live on the YouTube, Facebook, and YouTube streams on the Bulwark kind of hotline. As you hear him live at the Wells Fargo Center right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN at Kevin_Durso on Twitter. Kevin, you tweeted out the news earlier as well. Chuck Fletcher going to speak tomorrow, and you noted you don't think there's anything crazy going on. This kind of feels like people wanted to hear from him. Now you're going to hear from him. So what would you actually be expecting from him tomorrow when he does speak?
Well, for one, I would hope a state of the team just to kind of address everything that's going on to this point in the season. We haven't heard from him in a long time, and when you lose games the way that you have, you had a 9-0 loss, a 6-1 loss. After that 6-1 loss, there's a lot of people out there, myself included to an extent, that wanted to hear from Chuck Fletcher, to hear somebody else, not just the coach, not just the players. Let's hear from somebody who's upstairs in management and kind of call out the players on how things have been going, because the season's short. You had high expectations. Why is this still going on halfway through the year? And we didn't get that for a few days. We're about to get that now, and I'm curious to see what he has to say about that. And also kind of his thoughts going into the trade deadline, too. We're not that far away from it. This is the opportunity that you may have to improve your team. It's not like there's a lot of activity going on yet around the league, so it kind of leaves everybody at a standstill. But just kind of even to update, what are you working on? What are you trying to do maybe to improve the team in any way, or what direction you think you're going to go? Because you got to start asking that question with where you are in the standings. Are you going to go out and try to make one big move that gets you over the top potentially and you think back into the playoff race and back to where you can be? Or do you have to go a different route and say, this is not the year to be making the big move, we're not that team yet, and move on to the next season and try to make it better in the offseason potentially? And that might mean selling off some pieces. So that's really what I think we want to hear from Chuck Fletcher, is where his mindset's at, what he thinks of the team so far, and where it can go from here.
Yeah, I don't know if a big move, Kevin, is really going to solve all the problems. At least in my eyes, to me, you're 2 points behind Boston. You're, 6 points behind Pittsburgh. It's not like you're out of it altogether. It's not like you're like New Jersey or something, or you're playing tonight. So I feel like for the Flyers, to define direction from the GM would be nice, especially considering that, how many times have you and I talked about, yeah, I mean, you could probably make some money off of this. If you had $1 for every time I've asked you if the Flyers are going to make a trade, you'd probably be doing pretty well right now. So, I mean, now I have to ask you. Now you or somebody else could ask Chuck, hey, Chuck, everyone's asking us, you going to make a trade or not? And it would be nice for the GM to kind of make that definitive statement out there.
Yeah, for sure. And I suspect the answer we're going to get is that he's always trying to improve the team in one way or another, and kind of give that diplomatic answer that you're always looking, but you don't necessarily pull the trigger on something until you know it's the right move for you. I'm sure that's the answer we're going to get. And that being said, that's kind of the way that the league is operating right now. There's not a lot of trades to go around, and it just seems like everybody's trying to hold status quo as much as they can, because so many teams are in their playoff race right now, the Flyers included. I mean, they're still right there, and they still have an opportunity. If they're turning right now, they could be there at the end of the year. But you have to make that decision right now as a team, as players and coaches and everything like that. You got to go right now, because if there is the opportunity to make the team better down the line, you kind of need to prove to Chuck Fletcher that you're worthy of that right now. Based on what I saw last week, I'm not making a big trade right now. I'm kind of leaning towards the smaller end of trades, or not at all, because why do that right now? Why sacrifice so many pieces that have been built up, draft picks, prospects, all of that? Why do anything with that right now and hold it until the offseason when you can really make a huge impact? Because teams will be way more willing to wheel and deal at that time. Why do anything now if you're not going to be a team that makes the playoffs, or if you're going to just barely get in and probably be knocked out in the first round? There's no reason to go big if that's the peak of your season here. It's really only the right move if you think you're going to be there, not only in the playoffs, but after a round, going for a second-round win, thinking about conference finals. And I just don't see them as that team right now. They're far away from that team. Right now, I think your focus is just getting this back on the rails and finding a way to make the playoffs. And if you can do that in the next couple of games, you can make Chuck Fletcher at least start to think about that possibility. But until that happens, there's really no reason to think about big trades.
For the Flyers, last 6 games have been 1-goal games, Kevin. So with that being said, what can we expect from this game tonight at the Wells Fargo Center versus the New Jersey Devils?
Well, I'm not really sure what to expect, to be honest, because it seems like right now they're on this back and forth where they play one really solid game, give you the process. They might win it, they might lose it, but they're giving you the right process and taking out some of those mistakes from their game. But then the next game comes out and it's a total disaster. It's, they're going from winning a good game, finding a way to win a game against the Rangers, to getting blown out and embarrassed by the Rangers. They win a good game against the Islanders, they get blown out by the Islanders. They play a really solid game, unfortunately get the loss in overtime against the Islanders. So what's next? Is this game against the Devils the next in line, continuing that pattern, and it's just an awful game? Because if it is, then I think that you're really answering a lot of the questions we just kind of addressed with the state of the team and where do you go from here and what the rest of your season could look like if that's the game you have. So I don't think it's a matter of, I don't know what to expect, but I know what I'd like to see, and what I'd like to see is a team that played like last night and do what they did last night against the Islanders to a team like the Devils, who is lower in the standings, who doesn't score nearly as many goals, who doesn't have that kind of success this season. Find a way to win this game and really take advantage of the opportunity, because it's really the only thing that's left to getting your season back on track is this next little stretch of games. You got to focus on tonight first, strictly, but you got the Devils, the Rangers are on the schedule a couple times. You're going to be wanting revenge for that 9-0 game for sure. And then you got Buffalo. And those 5 games right there could be make or break it for the season, because you can either get yourself back on track with a good win streak here, or you can totally take yourself out of the picture. So it's up to them what they want to do.
He's Kevin Durso, our Flyers Insider for 973 ESPN.com. Follow him correct, Kevin_Durso. Also check out the Open Ice Hits podcast with himself and Broads on all the podcasting platforms. And as all guests, he appeared here on the Boardwalk on the Hotline. Flyers, Devils at 7 o'clock tonight. Kevin's there. Kevin will have the full game breakdown over at 973 ESPN.com. Kevin, appreciate the time. I'll talk to you Thursday.
Sounds good, Josh. Appreciate it.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 973 ESPN. Again, Flyers back in action tonight. And listen, from my perspective, when I talk and think about the Flyers, the biggest deal for me is what we just talked to Durso about. I need a defined direction for this team. Like, I turn on a Sixers game. I know what they're doing. I know what the game plan is. I know what they're looking to do long term. All right. When I look at a team like the Phillies, I understand they're not the best team in the NL East, but I understand they're trying to put a winning product on the field and they're working toward being a better team long term. When I look at the Eagles, I understand this is a year of transition. I understand that this team is saying, we got rid of Wentz, we're making the turn. It might be a one rocky year. We'll hit the reset button in 2022. We'll be better than 2021. Like, I understand where the Eagles, the Phillies, and the Sixers are going. I don't understand what the Flyers are doing. And it's maddening, because if you are a sports fan, you just want your team to tell you what's going on. You want your team to be upfront and honest with you about what to expect from the team every time they go out on the ice or the court or the field. And I feel like the Flyers are not giving that to us. The Flyers are just kind of, they're like a tree. They're waving in the wind. And I don't know what way they're going. I don't know if they're going right, I don't know if they're going left, I don't know if they're going up, down. I have no idea. They're just kind of wallowing out there. So it's important for Fletcher to come out tomorrow and kind of give everybody an idea of what the heck is going on. Because, listen, I'm not saying the Flyers have to be like the Sixers president of basketball operations is on Twitter, or Howie Roseman, who does about 3-4 press conferences a year, or, the Phillies situation where, they've been pretty upfront and honest about what's going on since Dombrowski took over. You don't have to be perfect. I just need more than what you're giving me. It's kind of how I stand with the Flyers right now. All right. We got some text to get to at 609-403-0973. Josh Hennig here in the Matt Black Kia studios on 973 ESPN. Matt Black Kia, the one get you approved today. That's Matt Black Kia on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township. Visit them online at mattblackkia.com. Also, my FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the night. All that and more coming up next here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Don't forget 97.3 ESPN.com for all the latest on the Eagles, Phillies, Sixers, and Flyers. Yes, the Eagles have a new backup quarterback. And how do you feel about it? Do you care? Do you not care? Adam Hazley He's back. That's up at 97.3 ESPN.com as well. The relevance of that. The Eagles' new backup quarterback. Flyers preview for the game tonight. Sixers projections for what they might do for the trade deadline. We got a lot to get to, a little bit of time. And, of course, all the details are at 97.3 ESPN.com. Josh Hennig, this is Game Night.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tonight on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action.
Oh, big save by Carter Hart.
The Flyers host the New Jersey Devils tonight. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN, and listen live on the free mobile app.
If you're an athlete or live an active lifestyle, aches and pains can be part of the game. That's where Trifecta Therapeutics comes into play. Trifecta Therapeutics is a premier sports rehab physical therapy center located centrally for anyone in South Jersey, right in Glassboro. Whether you're a weekend warrior or a finely tuned athlete, they treat the pros and the Joes. To find out more about Trifecta Therapeutics and how they can help you, check out trifectatherapeutics.com.
What's in store this week at Staples?
A big deal on ink. That's kind of a big deal.
Staples has the technology, furniture, and supplies you need for a totally productive workspace.
And right now, you can earn 40% back in Staples rewards when you purchase any 2 ink or toner cartridges.
Shop in-store or get same-day delivery powered by Instacart.
Ends 3/27/21. Limit 4 in-store and on Instacart only. Visit staplesconnect.com/ink rewards for details. Instacart delivery subject to availability. Additional fees may apply.
Bigger, better, Boardwalk, Boardwalk Honda. Bigger, better, Boardwalk, Boardwalk Honda.
Looking to upgrade? Get to Boardwalk Honda. Take advantage of fresh savings during the Honda Dream Garage Spring Event. Right now, lease a new 2021 HRV LX all-wheel drive for just $89 a month for 36 months. Or lease a new 2021 Civic Sedan LX front-wheel drive for $119 a month for 36 months. Plus, browse our entire selection of pre-owned and certified pre-owned Hondas. We have it all from store to shore. We're sure to have the vehicle you want at the price you want. Accord, Civic, CRVs, you name it, we have it. Plus, we work with all credit situations. Boardwalk Honda partners with over 25 top financial lenders, so we'll help you get approved and on the road in your new Honda in no time. Visit Boardwalk Honda today, located in Egg Harbor Township, or shop online at boardwalkhonda.com. And remember, from Maine to Miami, nobody beats a Boardwalk deal. Call us toll free at 844-890-3390 for more details.
Boardwalk Honda.
Hey, what do you want to da-da-da? I don't know. What do y'all think we should da-da-da? Well, what did we do yesterday? Yesterday. All the dolls feel like the same doll these days. I know. Like, is today Monday or Tuesday? Today is Thursday. Oh, no, I forgot to call my mom on her birthday. Oh, no. No.
These days, nothing is normal and everything is weird. But you could still save big when you switch to Progressive. That won't change. Not today or any day.
Quote today at Progressive.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
If you're an athlete or live an active lifestyle, aches and pains can be part of the game. That's where Trifecta Therapeutics comes into play. Trifecta Therapeutics is a premier sports rehabilitation physical therapy center located centrally for anyone in South Jersey, right in Glassboro. Their team of the highest skilled docs takes a unique approach to physical therapy and rehab. Whether you're a weekend warrior or a finely tuned athlete, they treat the pros and the Joes. To find out more about Trifecta Therapeutics and how they can help you, check out trifectatherapeutics.com.
Indeed knows unexpected demand can stretch your business thin.
Leon speaking.
Like at Leon's Plumbing.
Sorry, quick as we can get there is next Friday.
To stay out of hot water, he needs to get started hiring right away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. And the moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first sponsored job post. Terms and conditions apply.
If I'm not commuting anymore, where do I really want to live?
While you handle life's questions, Merrill Guided Investing helps you manage your portfolio and invest for your next move with the option to work with an advisor at a low cost and minimum. Merrill, a Bank of America company. Visit merrilledge.com/investing goals to get started today.
Investing involves risk. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated, both a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor, member SIPC. Investment products are not FDIC insured or not bank guaranteed and may lose value.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, 97.3 ESPN. Coming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We'll get your comments in just a bit at 609-403-0970. One of my friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook, though, with my FanDuel Sportsbook picks in just a moment. But there's always that one team that ruins your bracket. That's why this year I'm betting the tournament on FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook, because FanDuel, your first bet is risk-free. That means if you're a new user, your first bet is risk-free up to $1,000. And if that's not enough, FanDuel Sportsbook wants to make you a millionaire. Yes, you. They're giving away $1 million to one lucky bettor. New and existing users get an additional shot at the payout every day you bet the tourney. So if you want a shot at becoming a millionaire or even a thousandaire, download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Use my promo code Hennig to get in on all the action with the tournament and your shot at becoming a millionaire. That's promo code Hennig on FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or to play in President NJ or PA. No purchase necessary. Restrictions apply for $1 million drawing. Risk-free offer for first online real money wager only. Site credit is non-withdrawable and expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. We'll get you my FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the night in just a moment. But just to follow, I told you guys I would let you know about what we got right and what we got wrong. First of all, I'm always willing to admit what I got wrong. Did I have the North Carolina-Wisconsin game wrong or what? Oh, my goodness. I mean, I don't even know if North Carolina showed up. I'm not fully sure they even showed up for the game. It was embarrassing. It was absolutely horrible. St. Bonaventure, I know what happened. They choked. St. Bonaventure choked. They had 3 or 4 chances to make that a game in the late first and then into the middle of the second half of that game, and they just completely choked on offense. They were missing layups. They were missing free throws. They were missing easy jump shots, open jump shots. They just choked. So you know what? I picked some losers this weekend, but I picked some winners too. I told you Oregon State. They're in the Sweet 16 now. I mean, how nuts is that? I thought they would just win one game. They won 2. How about that? Ohio beat Virginia. I feel like a lot of people had that pick, though. That wasn't really unique to me. I felt like the more I looked around, the more I realized I wasn't the only person who felt that way about Ohio. So we did get you some winners over the weekend. Also, a couple other games that we hit on as well. The Iona-Alabama game, I mean, that hit the under. My goodness. Not for the reasons I thought, though. Wow. Iona put up a fight, though. I mean, Iona fought tooth and nail in that game. So we got you some winners. We got you some losers over the weekend. So we'll try to do a little bit better today. We'll get you your picks in just a bit with FanDuel Sports. Again, the promo code is Hennig, Hennig. The news that came out a little bit ago, the Eagles are signing Joe Flacco. Flacco is coming to the Eagles. Now, if you go back, this was a deal that was going to happen last year, okay? So this is a deal that Adam Kaplan talked about was supposed to have gotten done last year. And he mentioned it numerous times on the Inside the Birds podcast and on Football at 4 with Mike Gill on the Sports Bash. It looks like his deal is going to be worth up to $4 million with incentives, which is interesting because Jacoby Brissett's deal is about $5 million. So he will basically get a little bit less than Jacoby Brissett, according to Adam Kaplan, NFL Insider. And it was actually initially reported that Flacco signed by his agency, JL Sports, were the first to confirm it. So Flacco is now your backup quarterback. Listen, it makes sense. This is an organization that likes certain types of quarterbacks, right? They like to have certain types of people on the field with their players. I'm not surprised they're going for a guy like Flacco because, first of all, Flacco knows his role, okay? Flacco knows at this point in his career, he's way over the hill. He doesn't have the ability to be a starting quarterback who leads the team to the Super Bowl anymore. And when he had that year that he went 12-0 with 12 touchdowns, no interceptions in the postseason run, what did Flacco do? Flacco had a team where he could literally look at Anquan Boldin and be like, get me out of this mess. I'm throwing the ball to you. And he did. Frankly, Anquan Boldin should have been the MVP of that Ravens playoff run. You go back and watch some of those games. He bailed out that Ravens offense so many times. Ray Rice did not have the greatest playoff run. The rest of the offense was okay at times. But my goodness, between Bolden's big plays and Torrey Smith big plays, that's why the offense was able to function. And then the defense just stepped up big in the postseason, rallying behind Ray Lewis in his last playoff run. So, Flacco, that was peak Flacco, okay? He's not going to come in here and have any disillusions or ideas of what his job is. He knows he's the backup. Also, keep in mind, Joe Flacco, when he was in Baltimore, they went through a crazy number of offensive coordinators. They had Cam Cameron down there. They had Jim Caldwell down there. They had a lot of different guys down there. And I got to wonder, between his time with the Ravens, where he had numerous offensive coordinators, just in and out, in and out, in and out, and then his time with Adam Gase, is there a part of the Eagles that looks at Flacco and says, this guy has worked in and seen almost every style of offense in the league at this point? Is that part of the reason why they're going out and doing this? I have to wonder, there has to be some part of it, right? There has to be some element of that when it comes to this, because if you have that much experience with different offenses, different situations, that means that the information that they're being put out there is not going to be foreign to you. So being in the quarterback room with a guy like Hurts, Flacco can turn to Hurts and be like, hey, I've seen that coverage formation, or when we ran this play, I did this, and this is how you can best execute it. Like, he can communicate to Hurts in a way that, Wentz and Sudfeld couldn't. Jalen Hurts was in an incredible disadvantage last year. And I don't care, Carson Wentz, he was a good teammate. Of course he's a good teammate, because he wants to still play in the NFL. He wasn't a good teammate just out of pure altruism. All right? He wants to keep his reputation clean so he can go get a new job in the NFL. All right? Let's keep it straight. I ain't playing these lies with some of you. I know some of you out there like to play games. Like I wrote at 973ESPN.com. Carson Wentz may be a great human being off the field and outside the NovaCare complex, but in the NovaCare complex, he had some issues. So now Hurts is going to get a legitimate guy, a veteran in that quarterback room who can sit with him and the other coaches and give legitimate feedback and not just mush. I promise I get you a couple texts at 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. Dan EHT chimes in and says, I think the Eagles understand what Hurts is. We don't know as fans what he is. Does he seem like he is an anticipation quarterback, or is he like Vic, where he sees it and throws it? So, Dan, I'm going to reach back into a conversation I had previously on different shows for a hot second. All right. And this is the conversation that we can get more in detail another day, because I'm going to be filling in for Mike Gill a little bit later this week. So we'll bring this conversation back, Dan EHT. I think there's three kinds of quarterbacks in the NFL. This is just my personal analysis. I don't have, I'm not, running off of somebody else's metrics here, but this is just my personal perspective from what I understand from the film analysts, the Greg Cosell's, people like, the people who study the film, all right, their descriptions. There's three kinds of quarterbacks. There's the see it and throw it quarterbacks. There's the anticipation quarterbacks. And then there's the hybrids. More and more quarterbacks are coming into the league, and they're closer to hybrids than they are see it and throw it or purely anticipation quarterbacks. I think Hurts is closer to the hybrid. Depending on the play, he can anticipate or he could be see it and throw it. I think his instinct is he would like to be anticipatory, but he can switch to see it and throw it when he needs to. So I think that's closer to what he is than not. That's just my perspective on it. I think that he's able to do both and it's kind of even. I don't think he's better at one than the other. I think that Hurts has a defined ceiling, and that's kind of what it is. Yeah, I think he's closer to, let's say, we'll get into that later. All right. Really quick, my pick of the night, Nets at Blazers. I know there's no Kyrie tonight, but Blazers, give me the -3.5. Combine it with the 232. FanDuel Sportsbook, same game parlays. You can do it right there. Promo code Hennig, FanDuel Sportsbook. Flyers, Devils next on 97.3 ESPN.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
It's good. Tobias Harris back-to-back field goals. Timeout, New York.
The Sixers are in Cali to face the Warriors tonight. Coverage begins at 10 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
Health update with Robin Stoloff.